Hey guys, welcome to my full macro guide for all lanes. We will be covering all aspects of every lane so you can get a better understanding of the game on the large scale. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with the early game. We're going to rank each role by their respective difficulty, the importance of vision, roaming, wave management, micro, and macro, and I'm going to show you each role's scoreboard and then I will proceed to explain each and one of them. So we have top lane with a total of 46 points, jungle with a total of 49 points, mid lane with 48 points, ADC with 41 points, and finally support with 40 points. If you do not agree with my list, make sure to let me know down in the comments. When it comes to difficulty, I'm going to place jungle as the highest one, top and mid on an 8, ADC on a 7, and finally support on a 6. Essentially, the more things you need to consider in a game, the harder the role will be, hence why jungle being the highest one. When it comes to roaming and vision, I'm obviously going to put an emphasis on jungle and support, for obvious reasons. Mid lane's roaming can also be quite important since you are the center of the map. You can get away with not being too good at roaming and taking vision on ADC and top lane, however. I will explain why in the next category. When it comes to wave management, however, I'm going to put the highest priority on top lane, following with ADC and mid lane. The reason as to why you still need wave management knowledge as a support and jungle is because you want to assist your laners with their waves when they're in trouble. Because you have good wave management, vision and roaming will not be as important as an ADC and top lane. And finally, micro and macro are just self-explanatory. Let's move on. This brings us to an important question: what to do in the early game? Let's start with top lane. Every game is going to be different, of course, and your thought process should also adapt to each game. Take a look at this draft, for example. We are the Fiora, so we firstly need to understand our matchup and also take into consideration the enemy jungler. In this example, we know that we are stronger than the Kayle early on, however, there's an Elise in the jungle. If she starts on the red buff, it's very likely she's only gonna do 3 camps into a gank bot or mid. However, if she starts blue buff, then all of a sudden our game plan changes because we know that she's most likely gonna gank at 240, 245, 3 minutes or after scuttle. So we need to be careful very early on, despite our matchup being easier. As a top laner, you always want to prioritize asking yourself some important questions before trading. Where is enemy jungler? What do I want to do with my wave? Am I stronger or weaker than my opponent? If you're able to answer all those questions, then you will be able to make the best decision based on what's happening. This also applies to ADC and mid lane. Now, let's talk about the macro and jungle. Let's say we are the Diana in this game. What would be the best thing to do? Well, we know that Elise is most likely going to do 3 camps into a gank, and the best thing to do will be to either match her by counter ganking or go for a gank ourselves after 3 camps. Since we know that Fiora is most likely going to push into Kayle, we can decide whether we want to get the Fiora ahead or our bot lane. Since we are in a meta where bot lane is more important, understanding bot lane matchups as a jungler will also help us predict where the enemy champions will be in the future. Since this is a Caitlyn Lux matchup against Nautilus and Aphelios, it's very likely that Caitlyn and Lux will have the push, meaning that we will be able to gank them level 3 after 3 camps, and consequently also match the Elise depending on what buff she started. If she started red buff, then we can go for a counter gank. If she started blue buff, then we can simply go for a gank with a Nautilus engage. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the mid game now with the example with the draft that we made up ourselves. So now guys, what would be the role of each champion in this current game? I want you to pause the video and tell me exactly what would be the job of each champion in this game specifically. If we look at blue side, we have Fiora, Diana, Yasuo, Aphelios, and Nautilus. And on red side we have Kayle, Elise, Zed, Caitlyn, and Lux. We need to understand the synergies and team fights first of all. We already know that Yasuo has a really good synergy with Diana ult and Nautilus if he hits a CC. Aphelios is a solid ADC to follow up and engage, and Fiora would just prioritize split pushing. On the red side, however, we have better pick potential and range, with Elise Cocoon followed by Caitlyn Trap or Lux Bind with Elise CC and Lux Burst. Zed is also able to get picks here and there. When it comes to Kayle, however, she needs to scale into the late game, so she will prioritize the side lane alongside with Fiora on the blue team. Fiora's main job is going to be exerting pressure in the side lane to prevent Kayle from scaling too much, and also generate pressure so that her team can engage onto enemy champions. Overall, blue team has better side lane as well as better team fighting. If I wanted to win the game on blue side, I would play around team fighting with the double Diana and Nautilus engage, and if I wanted to win the game on red side, I would want to prioritize getting picks on Fiora in side lane with Elise for example, or Zed, and pick my opponents one by one knowing we are weaker in team fights. That would be your highest chances of winning on both sides. Understanding this is important since we won't blindly make rush decisions on the map leading us to our loss, and knowing who and what to play for will be our key to victory. Macro is all about understanding the game, how to generate a lead and what to play for. If we have a good understanding on how to get ahead, how to generate a lead, and how to be more consistent as a player, it's important that we understand all lanes and not only ours, even as a top laner. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you guys, bye bye.